Hello and welcome to another episode of Leading with Women by EgoMonk. Joining us today is Shazia Leilani. She is the founding member and country director of India at Amani Institute. They are committed to improving the quality of leadership in the social sector and have been training thousands of young professionals with the necessary practical skills and experiences and, very importantly, building a good network. Shazia has previously worked with leading corporates and is now focused on training and supporting the next generation of changemakers in India. Hello, Shazia, and thank you so much for joining us. So, I already told our viewers what the Amani Institute does, and what I would like to know from you personally is that what is the biggest obstruction to a leader actually achieving their social impact ambitions?
I mean, I think that's a tough question, but the first thought that comes to my mind when I think about the biggest obstruction is usually access to talent. I think when it comes to leadership, one of the things that we've grown up seeing and something that we're so used to, I think romanticizing in some way is this superhero journey and being this one person who goes and saves the world. But we know that that's not true, right? We know that superheroes need their sidekicks. They need the people, the group of people, the engine of people around them to make them tick. And I think that's what is missing. It's the access to the right sort of talent, to the right group of people who can help you in your leadership journey, who join forces with you, who think with sort of like an intrapreneurial mindset. You're really bringing a group of people who can actually like walk the talk and actually become leaders alongside you. And that for me is missing. And I think that's why Amani Institute as an organization also exists, because we realize that there was that gap, right? There are more and more people who are trying to build careers in social impact. There are more and more people who are looking for talent in this space, and there's nobody who's bringing them together, or there's very few players that are bringing them together. So I really think the talent and access to the right people is one of the main things that actually is one of the challenges or obstructions to leaders.
So, in this process of finding, as you said, establishing a network, finding the people who can help them achieve their ambitions. But honestly, social issues are quite deep rooted and they take a long time to even begin to start fixing it. So, in this scenario, it always needs long term multi pronged strategies. How should social entrepreneurs approach the problem discovery, solution engineering, and scale up phases?
Yeah, I wish there was an easy answer to that. But I really think that, like you said, right, like for you to be able to create a small dent or even scratch the surface of any issue, let's not even take like in the world, but think about India as a country in itself, right? Like this is a huge task. There are so many players who are doing so much stuff. And I think one of the things that's preventing us, I mean, we're still creating impact, but one of the things that can actually scale it and really make it in a way where more and more people are coming together to join forces to create that impact is the collaboration piece, right? You want to be able to create more platforms, more places where people can come together and amplify their impact rather than trying to do something solo. And I think that's one of the ways in which it can happen. I mean, it sounds utopian. We keep talking about silos in the sector, and I know that this is one of the things that has become the focus. There are more and more organizations. I mean, if you look at all philanthropic initiatives also right now, they are valuing more combined efforts of organizations coming together rather than solo efforts of organizations. So we are seeing the shift. We are seeing more and more people joining forces because they're realizing that to be able to create change it's a huge task. So you want to be able to combine strengths and really use a more collaborate versus compete sort of approach towards things. And I think one thing that's really tough is that people there's just so much to do, and most entrepreneurs or anyone who's like in a leadership position needs to be able to have something to guide their steps, right? And I think this is where Amani also, in many places we come in. We have a social innovation framework that really helps people follow a structured approach to innovation. It's a structured approach that helps you go straight from thinking about the initial stages of understanding a problem to going towards the end of actually measuring impact. I think the answer is in most simple terms, it's, you need to use a structured framework, look at things that can help you in your journey. There are enough tools and frameworks out there that can help you. And the second thing is a network. It's a group of people, it's your tribe, it's your confidants, people who can help you, who've either been there, done that, and can, sort of
anchored, I'm guessing. They do
Yeah.
little float.
Yeah.
So you know what's happening and you actually have sources where you can depend upon.
Exactly.
So apart from networking skills, which you've stressed upon a lot, what are some other key skills and competencies that leaders need to cultivate in order to actually have tangible results?
I'm going to answer this question purely from, I think, my strength area and my areas of expertise. But my broad assumption right now is that the business and the sort of like the domain and technical skills are taken care of. Because, this is something that we see, right? Most people will first focus and will invest in building the required technical or domain skills in whichever field they're in. So my assumption is that they already have that. Most people focus on that. They spend a lot of time and money, investing in building those skills. The mistake that a lot of people make actually is that they stop there. They think that, it's the technical skills and the hard skills means, challenge one. But, there's this really funny, and it's a famous saying about how you get hired for the hard skills, but fired for the soft skills. And this is where people forget to invest in themselves. They forget to think about specific things on how they can actually build the softer aspects of leadership, of management within themselves. And this is where they sometimes fail. And the technical skills are not going to help you there. You can get the best experts, but unless you yourself are an aware leader, you know how to actually leverage your strengths and how to bring out the strengths in your team. I think that's really important. So I think I'd start with leading self. I'd move from there to also thinking about skills about how you actually then lead others. But after having developed that reflection on self, I'd then go into things like learning how to motivate your team members. I mean, the pandemic has brought up so many new things for leaders now, where traditional ways of motivating groups of people are no longer working. You have completely remote teams. So people have to change the way in which they're thinking about how they lead as well. So I think that's also something that I would focus on. And the last skill that I think is super important is storytelling. I think that social entrepreneurs or leaders in any field, we're all human beings as a race. I think we all tell stories. And if we want to increase the impact of our work, we need to learn how to tell stories better. We need to learn how to bring people along our vision, to communicate our vision, and then to actually be able to even tell the story of how we're creating impact. So I think that's also something that's super important. No one thought that we'd be talking about storytelling, but it's become one of the topmost skills that people need nowadays and that people are opening their eyes to. So yeah, I think that's the last one that I'd speak of.
Have you seen these requirements for these soft skills actually evolve? So you know that right now storytelling is extremely important, but at a point of time, there's some skill which is not relevant anymore, but people still focus a lot on?
I don't think anything has become irrelevant, but I've seen the need for certain skills actually increase in importance over time. So like you said, storytelling is one of those that we're seeing. We're seeing the need for more and more problem solving, curiosity, innovation. I mean, we're encouraging, and I think more and more organizations are also opening their eyes to it, where they're saying we want more innovative thinkers. We want more people with an entrepreneurial mindset. You don't want people who are order takers anymore.
So since you spoke a lot about what organizations currently want, and you actually have an impressive experience with top corporates in India, how does leadership and talent, how is the journey different in the non-profit sector versus the corporate sector? And in this context, do you see cultural differences? Because the Amani Institute is in multiple locations. So do you see a cultural difference in the way this journey develops?
Great question. Let me first answer the corporate versus non-profit differences. The truth is actually there aren't that many. I think the problems that middle managers are facing in large corporations versus the problems that middle managers are facing in nonprofits are pretty much similar when you look at the leadership and management space. I think the one glaring difference, which is quite obvious, is the availability of resources, right? So the resource crunch is sort of felt a lot more in the nonprofit sector versus, it's not that much of an issue with the larger corporations. And so I think that's an additional sort of paradigm, an additional dimension that you need to think about, which is leadership when you know that resources are limited, right? So how do you actually mobilize people to a mission when you know that resources are possibly going to be under scrutiny? So that's one major change. But I think the bigger change that we've seen is, and it's slightly changing now in the private sector also, but this is something that, Amani exists because of this, which is we're realizing that more and more people are trying to build careers of meaning and purpose. People want to be able to find impact and create impact in their roles. And they want to find purpose and they want to find meaning in their careers. Your jobs are taking a majority of your lifetime. So you want to be able to see some impact or feel like you are contributing in some way with your job, right? And this takes on a different dimension when you see nonprofits versus corporates. The second part of your question was about the difference between countries, the cultural differences. The interesting thing is that Amani, we're in Nairobi, we're in Sao Paulo, in Brazil, we're in India. The overall org culture is similar, and we work actually predominantly so far, we've worked in the global south with developing economies. So a lot of the problems that we've seen in terms of leadership and management challenges broadly, a lot of these problems have pretty much been the same. There may be slightly different areas of focus in certain countries versus the others. For example, let me give you an example of how we do this, right? So we have a Leadership for Growth program, which is for mid to senior managers of small growing businesses in developing economies. The content for this program was first designed in Nairobi, and it was targeted at the East African audience. We then won a grant in 2019 to actually scale this program and bring it to India and also take it to Brazil. But it wasn't an easy cut and drop, right, in India, because it had to again speak to the realities of mid to senior managers in India. So we did our own understanding of the problem here. We spoke to multiple organizations and we realized that a lot of the skills were actually overlapping. A lot of what they wanted to learn, a lot of their challenges was same. But we also noticed some new things. For example, we noticed that in India, the need for successfully navigating conflict and managing conflict within teams came up as one of the top needs. And this wasn't something that had come out before. So we sort of modified our content to add in a separate module on conflict management because this spoke very, very, with a lot of importance to the managers over here in India. And so we've done small tweaks in all of our content, which is why I think the needs analysis process is very important in all our countries and all our projects. We really try and understand the organization and then the culture in which the organization operates. So a leadership program that we run in India is going to be different from a leadership program that we're running currently, for example, for women leaders in Afghanistan. We understood what their challenges are, and we're seeing now how our content can speak to that and what more we need to add to actually speak to their challenges. So there are small differences. I can go on and on. Hierarchy plays a huge role in India. You'll see that come out in different ways in which we deal with people. But yeah, I think I've given you enough for the time being.
No, but it's understandable. In developing economies, even though the source problems are the same, the approach to solving the problem will differ. And there has to be, as you said, tweaks. It's not a simple cut and paste job.
Yeah.
So how is the Amani Institute leveraging technology to deliver greater impact?
I think the interesting thing is that we've always used technology to some level or the other as an organization, but this was really challenged last year, right? I think, I mean, like it was for any other organization, I think across the globe. Just so you know, I mean, Amani's business model predominantly was until 2019, until the beginning of 2019, our entire business model sort of was hinging on international travel and face-to-face training. So these were the two basic foundations of our business model, both of which were no longer relevant, right? And so we had to think fast. We had to apply our own innovation framework on ourselves and really be agile in terms of thinking about how can we as an organization continue to create the impact that we want to create, right? And this meant moving online. And this was interesting for us because as an organization, we'd be thinking about how do we, can we move our stuff online? Like, can we offer some more things in a virtual environment? And there was always half of the organization that said, no, our USP is this face-to-face training, and will we be able to actually continue to have the same impact once we move our stuff online? But I think they were all assumptions that we needed to test. We spent a lot of time last year really looking inwards and trying to see how can we change the way in which we do things without sacrificing quality, without sacrificing the user experience. And so we spent a lot of time doing this. But we definitely had to embrace a lot of new things. Luckily, we'd invested in a learning management system early last year. So we had a platform already that was going to make it easy for learners, for anyone who was enrolling on our courses to actually manage the synchronous, asynchronous elements of learning. We already had Zoom because we are a global organization. So we were already using quite a few channels. Online. Yeah, we had to, right? But now using them much more. How do you run a training program on Zoom? How do you effectively use breakout rooms to make the participants actually get to know each other and do deeper learning activities on there? How do you make sure that while you're running a 4-hour session, everyone remains engaged, as engaged as they would in a face-to-face setup, right? So we definitely had to use technology and embrace technology for a variety of different programs that we run. And at the same time, we had to use new technology to see how we could keep ourselves motivated through this.